Welcome to OM Report by Andre Alpar, your interview-focused podcast on topics from online marketing to internet startups.
So today's OM report we do with Cygnus, which is obviously a nickname. It's not his first name, neither his last name. And we're at SEO Oktoberfest. Cygnus, probably you can tell us, what do you do?
So for the last 15 years or so, I've been involved in organic search, primarily of a black hat nature.
Okay, so what does black hat mean in your case? I mean, there's people who hack sites, there are people who just, are not really perfectly sticking to what Google says you should do. So what kind of area are you active in?
So my definition of black hat is anyone that's going outside the written rules of Google. So even buying a link technically would be black hat.
In gray?
In my view, it's perfectly normal, and it's it's just natural business. In their view, it's black hat. So hacking, I'd actually put that on the crap hat side of things, where it's just not a good business strategy. It's just short-term cash.
Okay, so what's the difference? It seems that there's even large corporations who buy a link, and then still what you do is a little bit more automated, if I understood well what you told me before.
So yes, there's certainly elements of automation. So it's a matter of determining what particular tactic seems to be working on a manual level, and then applying that with algorithms, if possible, to push it to a higher level. That's all that really means in terms of the automation.
So how did you get into that? Were you a programmer and then just suddenly figured out I can even earn money with programming, except for hourly fees? Or?
Yeah, so I spent a couple years developing tax software, which is extremely boring and does not pay very well. And so, I applied...
Poor programmers.
Yeah, I know, poor programmers. I managed to parlay that into doing affiliates for financial institutions, and that paid significantly more.
And then this kind of changed everything?
It changed everything.
Okay.
It's an accidental career.
You talked about negative SEO yesterday. How come that this topic didn't seem to be there for quite a while, and since Penguin, it seems to be like a huge topic?
Well, I guess unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon your point of view, negative SEO is easier now than it ever has before, mainly because Google is admitting that it exists. I mean, for the longest time, they said nothing could affect your competitors, and a large percentage of the population believed that. That's no longer the case. Additionally, because the thresholds have been made so simple to trigger, it's so easy to put your own site into Penguin, therefore, by logic, it's easy to put someone else's site into Penguin.
So do you think they will adjust that, or they'll just try to find some other solution like, devaluing links in Google Webmaster Tools, I
would prefer that they devalue links, but I don't know that it's going to happen, in the next year. I think ultimately they may make it more difficult to tank a site as hard as they tank within Penguin, but ultimately they're going to do whatever is best for their bottom line. And if AdWords revenues are holding steady, I wouldn't look for a fix anytime soon.
Okay, and I would bet quite a bit of money that AdWords income will stay steady for them.
Yeah, well, if organic search is simply good enough for the average user, then it's not going on. Given their market dominance, especially here in Europe, it's unfathomable to think that anyone's going to credibly, compete against them.
Let's imagine somebody's less technical and has a regular local, e-commerce shop. What can they do to defend themselves against negative SEO?
Not a lot. I mean, the best thing that they could possibly do is to try to improve their overall authority. I mean, that's their only weapon in the game, as well as monitor what kind of backlinks are coming in. If they do notice that links are coming in that seem to be of a rather spammy nature, they can be proactive. They can
and then do what?
Well, I hate to abuse the reconsideration request system. Well, sometimes, but I think for a small business owner, they could say, "Hey, these links are coming in. These aren't ours." And just be proactive. Say, "This is not ours. I don't understand. My rankings are fine currently, but I just want to let you know."
But the fun thing is that that puts them in a strong contradiction, I'd say, because you're on the one hand you say, and I totally agree on that they should improve their authority. So when you think about what I should do to improve my authority, something may be in the light gray area already, and then and then again you go to the reconsideration request and tell the search quality team to please look at your site more intensively. So that kind of...
Well, but if all their ducks are in a row, so to speak, then having the engineer come by their site shouldn't be an issue. I mean, if they're doing some things on page they should not be doing, then yes, don't use the reconsideration request. But for building up authority for a local business, I assume the local business has addressing. I would move more towards citational links, just to try to improve the authority on that base level.
Okay, so what's the citational link to you?
Okay, so for me it'd be local directories. I would get involved within forums and blogs that are relevant to my specific niche, and just be actually active and not just fake it. And you'd have your profile everywhere with your business information, your contact information, and that will boost a local site. I've done that part many times.
Okay. So what kind of negative SEO do you mostly see? Like, what are the 3 most common types that you see happening? So obviously you haven't done anything. It's just like for informational education.
No. We've done a lot of research, and the top one is link blasts. I mean, right as the unnatural link notices were taking place, and then with Penguin, that was the easiest way to do a negative SEO. You would load up a large list of wiki blasts or blog comments. A bad guy would do a lot of this type of stuff. Forum profiles, just a big blast, like X-Rumor. That would be one way. The second way was more of a social engineering.
How about just renting them through a local marketplace for links?
You could.
Yeah.
I mean, but
it's a little bit more expensive.
That is expensive.
Then somebody knows what you've done.
And you could use third parties to do that too. I mean, you could always contract a terrible agency to go ahead and rent links and say that you're this competitor site. It does work, but the social engineering aspect is utilizing like link removal emails to your competitors from someone else. And all you're trying to do there is you're trying to get your competitors' links removed, pretending to be a person that you are not. And that works rather well as well, unfortunately.
There's actually this entertaining trend that seemed to have come up since Penguin, that people charge for the removal of links even more than for setting up a link. What do you think about that?
I think that's probably
a great way to earn money.
It is. I think that was actually the most intelligent business that came out of Penguin, was the people that immediately created link removal service, like Remove Them was the first one that I'm aware of.
There's really services in the U.S. offering that?
Yes.
Come on. What's it called?
Remove Them? Yeah, Remove Them. I don't know what their costs are off the top of my head, but there's not been any evidence yet that says if you remove your links and do a reconsideration request, you'll get back. There hasn't been any evidence, but there's been suggestions that possibly this could work, and these entire business models have been created to do that, which is fantastic for the people that are thinking about it, but it could be a mixture of snake oil.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds snake oil because there's so many. If you think about like a natural link profile, there's so many links you can't just easily remove. It's like a whole bunch of work. It will cost, I don't know, a couple $100 per link probably to remove on average, I think.
On the big links, yeah. I mean, on the real tiny links. I mean,
even on the tiny links, like imagine somebody has done, has had an overactive intern, done a couple hundred blog comments. How do you remove those? It's a whole pain in the ass of work.
Okay, so there's a few ways. Like if it was through like a blog network, you would try to get the network closed down, or make them go offline. And then there's various legal threats that could take place as well.
I thought the play to earn money out of that would be even the other way around. You would look at who ranks really, really well, then create your own blog network, set up a bunch of articles that have exact match anchor text links.
And then contact them and say, we'll take it.
Just wait until they contact you.
So I mean,
new source of income for you.
Yeah, and it's almost like a form of extortion, but unfortunately, that's the world that we're currently living in. And during this transitory period before Google does the next Penguin refresh, and we can see as an industry, okay, here's what has changed in the last 5 months that we can now say this is what Penguin definitely is.
What do you say about the multi-appearance of, it's not really black hat, it's more like a general question, but the multi-appearance of certain domains, so
the domain crowding, yes.
Yeah, domain crowding, and so the diversity has suddenly gone down. So I've seen examples where a domain appears on 7 out of 10 results on a certain...
And it's certainly frightening. And in some...
does it make sense for a user? I mean,
no,
because the strongest argument...
To that degree, it certainly doesn't. Like, now, if they're doing a purely navigational search where they're looking for, moneysupermarket.com, and that was their query, okay, I would understand, seeing that. But if they're just looking for money, I would not expect to see multiple domains for one query. There are certainly some where, like, PR Web was having the 7 out of 10, and it was silly. I think they made a mistake. I think that'll ultimately get fixed because it makes them look stupid.
Yes. How do black hats, kind of... how do they progress? I mean, who do they exchange their experience with, and where do they actually get information? Because it's not really a perfectly openly talked about topic. It's not like everyone is showing the others on conferences what's happening. It's more like a...
Well, I think a lot comes from just experimentation, and in some cases, over time, like any industry, you will develop a level of trust with certain individuals that you will share, knowing that they will share back. That's like any other industry. But at the same time, most of what is learned is through trial and error. You learn not to point thousands of links to your own domain in one day, because it comes back to bite you. Okay. Believe me.
Sure. So where do you draw the line for yourself? What do you say what is okay and what isn't? Because for somebody new to the industry, they'll just see one thing and then come to the next, and then be starting to do deeply illegal stuff, and probably they didn't even want to do it, but they just fell into it somehow.
For me, the line has always been that if a tactic is illegal, do not do it. Okay. And so I am in the U.S., so there's certain laws that I have to abide by that they're probably different than your laws to a certain degree. And to a large degree, like, neither of us can go and hack a domain in order to place our link on it.
I agree, but then again, I heard other podcasts saying, I hack Japanese websites because they're out of where I live and I'll never go there. What do you think about that kind of logic?
Yeah, I personally don't do it. I cannot condone nor condemn, a lot of the practices out there, because I can't put myself in their shoes. But I prefer, and I choose not to do that. And unfortunately, I see that activity increasing quite a bit in the last year.
It seems that like most of the hacking stuff that happens a lot in Black Hat SEO is WordPress based.
Well, the reason it's WordPress based is because that's the easiest footprint to find. So it's like writing virus software. For the longest time, you'd write it only for Windows because it had the largest install base. So if you're looking to exploit the maximum number of computers, you might look for the largest install, WordPress. After that, you'd go down the line. You might say, okay, Answer CMS is fairly large. Okay, this Open CMS is fairly large and it's unpatched. Go for that, and just right down the line.
So what is your maximum? You kind of basically like you're doing automation text and link wise, and that's kind of the level of Black Hat that you're willing to do and say it's okay because it's not against any real laws.
Additionally, I will try to work with just my own network too. So a lot of times when I'll place a large amount of links, it's through my own sites and my own forums. I feel a little bit better about doing that.
Oh, okay. It's like a light black then.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot for the interview.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
OMReport and Andre Alpar would like to thank you for your attention. You can get more episodes on www.OMReport.com.